Good morning and welcome to KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Right now at 7, the Salvation Army in Newton County continued its traditional Thanksgiving meal yesterday. Our very own Melissa Alexis spoke to a few volunteers on why they chose to help.
Also, food banks across the country are facing a crisis as donations continue to drop.
And if you're out Black Friday shopping or maybe you're getting ready to leave, grab the coat because it's going to be a cold one out there. We'll have another look at your forecast to get you out the door coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Samantha Walker.
And I'm Chris Warner. It is just after, it's almost 7:01 now on this finally Friday, November the 29th. Thank you so much for joining us here. Of course, a lot of folks probably already Black Friday shopping.
Probably.
If you haven't gone out yet, though, it is a bit on the cold side.
I wouldn't blame anybody for not wanting to go out that door.
Our own Shannon Becker's been out at some of the different stores this morning. Some of the video he sent back, there have been lines, don't get me wrong, but at least early this morning, they were not nearly as long as they typically are, probably because it's a little too cold for that. And speaking of cold, some folks looking for a warm meal yesterday.
Definitely. The Salvation Army of Jasper and Newton County continued their tradition of providing a free meal on Thanksgiving Day to those in need.
KOAM's Melissa Alexis spoke to some volunteers who helped make the event possible.
Spend time with them and the holidays with them and let them know that they're loved and they're cared for.
Over 100 volunteers committed their Thanksgiving Day to serving others at the Salvation Army of Jasper and Newton County.
We look forward to this every single year. It's just an honor and a blessing.
Cassandra Miller and her family volunteered together.
And the kids always look so excited to, that's their thing that they look forward to, probably more than presents.
And they've made it an annual tradition to volunteer at the Salvation Army every Thanksgiving.
My whole family is here. There's 10 of us. And so we are doing pie and we're serving and we're doing dishes.
It's a chance for her to give back and help others, the same way the Salvation Army helped her when she was in need.
My daughter was born here, and then for the past 10 years, we've chosen to come back and serve every day to give back to the people who gave to me.
Captain Deb Middendorp says the volunteers help make it all possible.
It warms my heart just to have all these volunteers come together, give up their time on a holiday to make this happen.
Miller is looking forward to coming back this Christmas to volunteer again.
I know joy's my heart, so I'm sure joy's theirs as well.
Reporting in Joplin, Melissa Alexis, KOAM News.
The Salvation Army served more than 500 Thanksgiving meals yesterday.
Certainly an impressive total of meals served, and it certainly helps a lot of folks on Thanksgiving, or really any time of the year.
Definitely.
And it is cold out there this morning. A nice coat will probably help you if you're heading out, whether you've got to go to work or if you are planning on doing some shopping, looking for bargains. Let's take a quick look outside from our camera in downtown Pittsburgh. The sun is rising, and you'll see it. I promise you will. There it is. See? Did I lie? I did not. And there it is. And the skies are clear. The temperatures, though, again, on the cold side. MoDOT camera 20th and Rangeline looking pretty good, honestly. Really thought there might be a few more folks out there on the roads. And don't get me wrong, traffic data suggests that there's a lot more cars starting to show up on the roads. But thankfully, not that congested out there yet as we get this Friday underway. On to the future track we go. We're going to have a light and variable breeze today by noon. Most of us into the 30s, but some low 40s will be out there as well. As we head later into the day, I think all of us, even if it's brief, will at least reach the low 40s today, and then temperatures will start falling back through the 30s. So about 80 to 85% of our usable daytime period out there is going to be spent in the 30s. But by later this evening, winds begin shifting out of the south, and while they'll bring in some warmer air, we won't notice it here at the surface, but it will slow down the temperature drop tonight, and then that will allow us to be a hair warmer tonight than where we are right now. Take a look at these temperatures right now. 22 in Joplin, 21 in Pittsburgh, and across the area, that's where we've been all morning, just kind of hovering in the low to mid 20s. The warmest temperature we have out there right now does appear to be 25. We've got Monette and Cassville sitting up there, but the rest of us all still very cold start. Again, highs low 40s this afternoon, sunny skies, light and variable winds. Not a bad day, just a bit on the chilly side. Now, we're going to be a little warmer tomorrow, a little windier as well. They're going to be a lot warmer next week. Details on the full forecast here in just a few more minutes. Samantha?
Thanks, Chris. Police investigate a Wednesday night homicide in Pittsburgh. It happened just before 11 p.m. on the 1100 block of South Elm Street. That's where officers found a 29-year-old man, Theodore Lee Warren Lomax, suffering from gunshot wounds inside one of the apartments. He was taken to Mercy Hospital, where he later died. Officers tracked the shooter to a home on the 300 block of East Park Street. After obtaining a search warrant, they entered the residence and found 26-year-old Kevin Holkill hiding in the attic. Police arrested Holkill on an outstanding Crawford County felony warrant for failing to appear on a previous drug charge. He's now facing second-degree murder charges, felony interference with law enforcement, and felon in possession of a firearm. Holkill is currently held without bail at the Crawford County Jail. Authorities respond to an overturned truck on Interstate 49 Wednesday. The incident happened around 10 a.m. in Lamar, Missouri. The crash involved an overturned cement mixer. Initially, both lanes were blocked and cement had to be washed from the road. Despite being transported to an area hospital, troopers say the female driver was alert and communicating. On Wednesday afternoon, authorities responded to reports of a crash near Douglas Fir Road in Newton County, Missouri. Authorities arrived to find a car flipped over on its roof, laying in a runoff creek. The driver was the only one in the car and was not injured. To be the first to see breaking news, weather, and sports, download the KOAM News app. It's available free of charge in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Just search for the KOAM News app. 85% of food banks say they're seeing similar or higher demand for food assistance compared to last year. This is according to a new survey conducted by the nonprofit organization Feeding America. This couldn't come at a worse time, given that food banks say pantry donations are down. Natasha Chen has more.
You have a happy Thanksgiving.
This is not video from the pandemic. This is a line this week of people waiting to receive food at a church in time for Thanksgiving.
I have to do it, and that's the way it goes.
Chris Merrill has been coming to this Pasadena, California church every week for several years.
Well, my wife won't even come because she'd be embarrassed.
He's a retired mechanic living on less than $700 Social Security per month. He never thought he'd need help from a food bank, and he's not alone.
Never seen a line that long before. This time it was all the way up and down the street.
Lines are getting crazier.
We first met Anna Duran 2 years ago when her home in Riverside, California, saw inflation at almost 10%, even though inflation has cooled now to about 2%.
Where I have to get up at least, like I said, before 6 to be there by 6.
Duran still goes to weekly food distributions. 2 years ago, she told us she was turning in recycling and selling jewelry for extra cash while working as a part-time caregiver. She's continued to do that, selling what little jewelry she has left.
Only have like 2 or 3 more pieces that I have for as a backup resource.
The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank says they're tracking about 10% ahead in the amount of food distributed compared to last year. They're serving 900,000 people a month right now, near pandemic levels.
We can't turn nobody away.
In New York City,
Some days you don't know where your next meal is coming from.
City Harvest says visits to city food pantries and soup kitchens are at the highest level on record, even higher than the pandemic's peak. In Chicago, Common Pantry says they're serving 26% more households per month than last year. Across the country, 85% of food banks in a Feeding America survey reported similar or higher demand for food assistance, comparing this August with last August. Why do you think that is when inflation has actually cooled quite a bit?
I think what we're seeing here in Los Angeles is the cumulative impact of inflation. Food prices are about 25% higher than they were pre-pandemic. Now the unemployment rate has come down. We would expect the demand for food assistance to decrease, but that's not what has happened.
This comes as donations to food banks are also dropping. Anna Duran says something has got to change, which is why she cast a ballot for Trump, the first Republican she's ever voted for in her life.
When it came down to, voting, I changed who I was, and I changed hoping for the better.
But Trump is exactly what Merrill is worried about.
I am definitely worried it's going to get worse with the tariff that Trump's putting on. Say hi, everybody.
He thinks prices will jump and more people will find themselves going to food banks. But the fact that the food banks even exist makes him feel grateful.
This is a beautiful country that we live in. Say happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas.
According to Feeding America, nearly 47 million people in the U.S. are food insecure. And those are our top news stories this half hour. Coming up next, Lowe's Corporation helps those affected by Hurricane Helene this Thanksgiving. And later, we'll learn how sage plays an important role in Native American culture. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Topping Nation Watch this morning, Vice President Kamala Harris gives thanks by volunteering in our nation's capital this Thanksgiving. Harris was joined by Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff to help prepare meals at the D.C. Central Kitchen yesterday. They joined dozens of volunteers who have spent countless hours preparing turkey and all the trimmings for those in need. Harris and Emhoff were tasked with sorting vegetables for the donated meals. Organizers say the kitchen will provide a record 69,000 meals today. That's twice as much as last Thanksgiving. Despite the rain and cold weather, the annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade kicked off in New York City, and spectators clad in rain ponchos and with umbrellas lined the parade route. This year's parade included new appearances from Minnie Mouse and Spider-Man, along with performances from singers Jennifer Hudson and Idina Menzel. Lowe's lends a helping hand this Thanksgiving to help Hurricane Helene victims in North Carolina. It was a day of giving in Asheville, one of the hardest hit towns, where volunteers served up hot meals and lots of smiles. Fox's Anna Orinder reports.
Souls and stomachs being filled to the brim here in Western North Carolina. Lowe's and local restaurants stepping up to give back to their community this season.
What's happening?
How you doing?
Thanks for coming out. We're doing green beans or green corn?
Green beans.
Green beans, yes ma'am.
2 months after Hurricane Helene, hot meals, smiles that lighten the day, and help hasn't stopped.
After the recent events, it's been kind of a godsend for us. We kind of had a bunch of family members that lost some stuff. We actually had some damage to our house as well.
North Carolina-based company Lowe's feeding hundreds of families devastated by the recent storm.
It just means a lot. I mean, we're barely scratching the surface. There's so many people that need help, and this is going to be such a long process as this community looks to rebuild. So any little thing we can do, I think is just amazing. So to see this many people out here this early just tells us that, we're making an impact in the community, and we still got a long ways to go, but we'll continue to support as we go through this.
The group employing local restaurants also hit by the storm to cater a Thanksgiving dinner complete with turkey, gravy, and all the fixins.
Let you know, huh?
Oh, yes, he is. He plays linebacker.
Well, tell him we said hello.
All righty.
Even some special guests making an appearance to pass out dessert.
The giving doesn't stop here. Lowe's says that there's going to be another opportunity for local artists on Saturday to come here. They're opening up their parking lot, allowing them to sell their merchandise, play some songs, and really get their art back out to the community as well. In Asheville, Anna Arinder, Fox Carolina News.
And those are our top national stories. Here's Chris with a quick look at your forecast.
Yeah, we've got clear skies out there. We are dealing with cold temperatures this morning as well. We'll have another full look at your forecast right after this. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. Man, it is Friday, and it's starting to pick up finally, here at the station. It's been a long week, and I imagine for some of you at home, especially if you've been preparing Thanksgiving dinner, probably been a long week. I know, my family, my brother and his wife, they always have us all over to their place. I'm sure it's thrilling, the idea of everyone coming over, but I'm sure as soon as it's done too, you're like, oh, thank goodness. All right, we've got some time before this happens again. It's going to be cold this morning. Okay, it already is, and it's going to be chilly today. By noon, a lot of us still into the 30s, but some low 40s in our southern counties out there. We all should make highs, even briefly, into the low 40s. And then we're going to start falling back to the 30s. So I truly believe that for most of us, we're going to spend about 80% of this day in the 30s. We'll have a light and variable wind. Skies will be clear, so it won't be that bad. Just be chilly. Tonight, though, Winds increasing out of the south, gusting upwards of 20 miles an hour initially, and then they'll pick up even more so, gusting upwards of 30 on our Saturday. We'll also have partly to mostly cloudy skies. The southerly winds bring in just enough warm air that while it won't really be noticeable to us, it will slow the temperatures from dropping, so we shouldn't be as cold tomorrow morning as where we are now. And yeah, I know, this is snow, that blue color. That's what it looks like. That's what it is. But I'm going to tell you right now, first, look at the temperatures on the communities that are mapped out immediately south of that snow, already above freezing by 9 a.m. We have a slight chance of an isolated shower or two in our very far northern counties. There's the remote possibility it could be cold enough in some spots that may fall as a brief light snow. But whatever it does, it's not going to be significant. We're expecting no real impacts from it, but just be aware that maybe some light rain, maybe a little light snow will be up there. This is what I'm talking about too at the future track. You can see Stockton at 43. Now, it's right on the border of what the future track shows as snow tomorrow. So it kind of gives you an idea. It's not 100% on all the time. It's like 95%, okay? Winds, though, gusting tomorrow. By the afternoon and evening, they begin to shift out of the north, and, well, what do you know? That brings in another round of cold air, falling back into the 20s Sunday night with mostly cloudy skies. Sunday morning, we're partly to mostly cloudy, and we're going to have a day similar to today, where we're only going to make about the low 40s, but I think we're going to make the low 40s a little bit longer out there, maybe even some upper 40s in our southern counties than what we're expecting today. In Joplin right now, the skies are clear. It looks great. It is cold, though, 22 degrees. Again, as folks getting their day underway or heading out to do some Black Friday shopping. I'm sure there's a number of you doing that. All of us in the 20s, low mid-20s across the region. So, again, a chilly start. But thankfully, no major winds to concern ourselves with, which is great because that'd make it even worse. Mid-20s by 8 a.m., clear skies, upper 30s by 11 o'clock this morning. Again, ahead of those highs, going to low 40s. Highs near 50 tomorrow. Low to mid 40s on Sunday, a little cooler Monday. Then we start warming up, and this is what I'm talking about. Look at this. This is our first week of December. We're going above normal by the middle of the week. Upper 50s, low 60s. Rain on Thursday, at least chances of. And then as we head into next weekend, if this pattern holds, we are talking near 70 degrees in December. So some very warm temperatures on the way. Let's check your forecast. We're back with more right after this. Well, November is Native American Heritage Month, and one custom that we see often is the use of sage.
When dried or burned, it's used as a purification ritual to promote positive energy. Rena Nako shows how respect is the most important aspect of the healing journey.
It starts with one spark. The burning of sage is an ancient cleansing experience deeply rooted in Native American tradition.
We've always used it, for blessings.
Virginia Carmelo is an elder from the Gabrielino Tongva Nation, the Aboriginal people of the Los Angeles Basin. She guides a small group at the Robert Redford Conservancy in Claremont on how to respectfully harvest the native plant.
The plant has a life, just like we do, and it's giving us part of their life.
She says the key is to snap just the top parts of the plant. But before doing that, say a prayer and offer something in exchange. 5-year-old London Young sprinkles some tobacco as her offering to the sage. She's here with her mother, aunt, and grandmother, who are part of the Wahpeton Dakota Nation.
In huge urban places like Los Angeles, oftentimes we don't get that connection with other natives or learning about our culture. So bringing our youth and little ones together is so important.
Tribal elders remind us that picking sage or any plant should not be a one-way transaction, but rather a two-way relationship between you and the Creator.
In the Tongva tradition, the Creator deemed plants and animals to be relatives of the people who deserve respect.
We have a relationship that's reciprocal. It goes back and forth. So we take from the plant life, but we also need to give back and care for the plant life.
After it's picked, the sage can be used in teas, mixed with oils to create sage salve, or most commonly, it's wrapped in natural yarn to create bundles. Once it's hung dry, it's ready for burning or smudging.
Just tie it around.
Carmelo says the best way to get sage is to respectfully harvest it yourself or have it gifted from a native person, someone like Little London, who will be back to learn, respect, and continue on her culture.
Do it again.
Yeah, why?
Because it's so fun.
It came to us from the ancestors, and it'll continue down the road, 7 generations to our children, and then past that. So that's the responsibility that we carry going back and into the future.
Certainly an interesting tradition and part of that culture. And there's so much Native American culture to always learn about. And we're, I think, fortunate in our region. We have so many tribes in our region alone. You can learn about so many of the different traditions and the different cultures just by traveling right down the road.
And it's, you know, they're great efforts trying to keep that culture alive, and especially with these up and coming generations.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, coming up, Joplin residents got off to an early start Thanksgiving morning for the 13th annual Turkey Trot.
And while it looks really nice outside, the temperatures are in a state of disagreement with that. We'll have another look at your forecast when we come back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:30. I'm Samantha Walker. Family and friends gather in the 4 states to celebrate Thanksgiving. The holiday got off to an early start in Joplin yesterday morning with the annual Joplin Turkey Trot. Area runners came out to the event in downtown Joplin for a 1-mile walker run at 7:30 and a 5K walker run, which took off at 8. The certified 5K course began and ended at the front door of Joplin City Hall. All participants received an event shirt and an amazing finisher medal. Participants say the event serves as a great way to celebrate the holiday.
Having fun with friends, doing something physically active. This holiday doesn't have to be all about food. It can also be about exercise as well.
The event also featured a professional DJ, Krispy Kreme donuts, and Bearded Lady coffee. This marks the 13th year for the event. Many places in our area opened their doors to the community yesterday. The city of Pittsburgh served up its annual community Thanksgiving dinner at the St. John Lutheran Church. The event provides a place for the community to gather so no one needs to be alone for the holiday. The dinner brought out a number of volunteers who wanted to give something back to the community.
We have all types of people that want to come and help. Teachers, people that work at the university, housewives, and what really helps us is the people who you really don't see here that have prepared food at home for us.
This marks the 40th year to provide a Thanksgiving dinner to the community. The veterans at VFW Post 1372 in Columbus, Kansas also opened their doors to the community for the holiday. The post hosted a free Thanksgiving dinner for members and guests. The event served as a great way to support veterans and their families, as well as celebrating the holiday in a way the post hasn't gotten to do in a while.
Since COVID, we haven't been open on Thanksgiving or Christmas, and this year I thought we'd give it a shot and see how it goes and everything, and we haven't done it, for so long. I kind of made the decision on my own, and everybody backed me, so.
The post is located on 137 Southeast Avenue in Columbus. Now here's Chris with a quick look at your forecast.
One stray cloud out there. You can see it in the top portion of our camera in downtown Pittsburgh, and over on the Joplin side you can see it looking back to the northwest. So just interesting, but that's the only cloud we see, at least camera wise, and Skywatch Storm Tracker not showing really much in the way of clouds either. MoDOT camera 20th and range line looking good this morning. Skies otherwise looking to the south are clear. I'm getting a few more folks starting to line up on the roadways. On to the future track. We're going to have a light and variable breeze through the majority of today. We're also going to spend the majority of today hanging out in the 30s, low 40s by noon in some of our southern counties. Everybody else again 30s, but I do believe all of us, even briefly, should at least make the low 40s for highs today, and then we'll see temperatures falling back off. Now later this evening, winds are going to start picking up out of the south, and they'll usher in some warmer air that again we won't notice down here, but it will slow the temperature drop tonight and keep us just a few degrees warmer than where we are right now. And where we are right now is pretty darn cold. 22 in Joplin, 23 in Pittsburgh. And temperatures across the area, they look about like this. We've got low to mid-20s getting the day started. Again, thankfully, the wind is light and variable. Otherwise, it'd feel even colder, as if that's not cold enough. Heading into this afternoon, again, low 40s for highs. Most of the day in the 30s, though. Clear skies. Clouds will start increasing later this evening, as do the winds, but between here and there, not bad, just a bit on the chilly side. We're going to have a big warm-up as we start to head into next week. We'll talk about all that and your weekend forecast here in just a few more minutes. Samantha?
Thanks, Chris. Volunteers are lending a helping hand to give back to those less fortunate this holiday. Fox News correspondent Madison Scarpino has more from Atlanta.
It's the season of giving, and many Americans, organizations, and officials nationwide are taking time out of their holiday to help those in need. In Vermont, one community comes together to raise over $150,000 to help a family who lost everything in a flood 4 months ago.
For us, losing this home after 21 years is huge. It's unbelievable the way that we were supported.
And in North Carolina, Lowe's handed out 3,000 Thanksgiving dinners to residents.
We're barely scratching the surface. There's so many people that need help, and this is going to be such a long process as this community looks to rebuild.
Folks in Asheville say the support is a godsend following Hurricane Helene just 2 months ago.
You know, we kind of had a bunch of family members that lost some stuff. We actually had some damage to our house as well.
And just east of North Carolina, President Joe Biden is in Nantucket visiting working firefighters. It's been somewhat of a tradition for the Biden family to deliver pies to the local station. During his visit, Biden says he has a lot to be thankful for, including a peaceful transition of power and peace overseas.
I'm really thankful for being able to get the first peace done on Lebanon. There's a lot to be thankful for.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone! Vice President Kamala Harris also joins in on the volunteering efforts as she sorts vegetables at the D.C. Central Kitchen in Washington. Organizers there say they expect to donate 69,000 hot meals, a record number for the kitchen. In Atlanta, Madison Scarpino, Fox News.
That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. We'll have a few tips that will help keep you from falling for charity scams this holiday season. Before we head to break, here's a look of shoppers out for Black Friday. In Consumer Watch this morning, scoring a good deal is becoming a good driver of buyers to shop online for the holidays. And so far, sales are up. Salesforce says online holiday buying is up about 4% for the first half of the Thanksgiving holiday buying period. The upward signs indicate shoppers are buying when discounts are good. Retailers went big on discounts early this year. The peak online shopping period hit Friday night between 7 p.m. and midnight. Salesforce expects 35% of sales to happen during that time. Amazon is fighting back on fake ordering scams. The e-commerce giant says holiday impersonation scams could prompt consumers to hand over sensitive personal information or credit card data. Amazon says it's ramping up security by using machine learning, artificial intelligence on orders. The retailer adds it is using public-private partnerships, expert investigators, and even insurance specialists to weed out troublemakers. Amazon will also use more secure email capabilities. 'Tis the season for giving, but do you know exactly who you're giving to? Sadly, there are a lot of Grinches who see Americans' generosity as an opportunity to make a quick buck by setting up fake charities and pocketing the donations. Fox's Rebecca Castor has more on the red and green flags to look out for.
3, 2, 1.
While Americans are lighting trees and starting their holiday shopping, scammers are getting ready to take advantage of the goodwill of the season.
It's opportunists, right?
Jamie Truman is the co-founder of Truman Charities, an organization that's raised money for dozens of nonprofits over the last decade. So she knows to look for transparency before giving.
First and foremost, when you go onto their website, they should have their finances like very up in front. You should easily be able to find they have a financial tab or annual report.
The Federal Trade Commission also recommends paying by credit card or check, not cash or crypto. and keeping a record of the payment to ensure you're only charged the amount you agreed to donate. You should also never feel pressured.
No charity that is respectable is going to be very pushy.
Truman says there's always a different gift you can give. Many of these scams can be avoided by donating your time instead.
And you really want to see like the nuts and bolts of how a charity runs, then volunteer at one. Find one that locally that you find, really you find passionate about their cause.
It's also easy to check online how much of your donation goes to those in need versus those running the organization. Philanthropists recommend donating to nonprofits where at least 70 cents per dollar goes to the cause. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
And those are our top consumer stories. Let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. It is 7:44 on this Friday morning, and it's definitely a Friday because I left this back in the control room, but thankfully our producer Abby was kind enough to deliver it to me, because without it, this is all we're going to see. But thankfully we have it, and we have control, and we're going to tell you about what we're expecting. So this is noon today. You can see most of us still hanging out in the 30s, a light and variable breeze. Our southern counties almost right there, going to be into the low 40s already. We're all eventually going to make highs into the low 40s, but for some of our northern counties, it may be only an hour or so that you actually reach the low 40s before your temperatures begin to fall down again. The good news is light and variable winds, clear skies. It'll look pretty good out there. It's just going to be a bit of a chilly day. Now, later this evening, after say 8, winds will start picking up out of the south, and overnight they start gusting upwards of 20 miles an hour. We're going to start our Saturday partly to mostly cloudy. Now, the winds out of the south bring in some slightly warmer air. We won't really notice, but it slows down our temperature drop tonight and does keep most of us warmer than where we are now. Maybe not significantly warmer, but it'll be a bit of a better start tomorrow for us as we get our Saturday underway. Now, yes, I know the future track is showing snow. This is in our far northern counties. We do have a chance of an isolated shower or two in our very far northern counties. We're talking even then the far northern fringes. Depending on the temperatures, there could be some brief light flurries out there, but regardless of whether it's rain or snow, it will be brief and is not expected to add up to much of anything, but just a heads up on that. Throughout Saturday, winds continue to gust. In fact, they increase, pushing 30 miles an hour. And then we on the backside of this little wave, and that shifts our winds out of the north. So even though tomorrow be a little warmer, we're going to go right back to cold temperatures going from Saturday night into Sunday, eventually falling back into the 20s again with mostly cloudy skies to start our Sunday. And our Sunday will be similar today, highs in the low 40s, but I think we'll spend maybe a little longer of a period into the low 40s out there than what we will today. Speaking of right now, there's that one cloud, and you can see it from this camera. We can see it from the Pittsburgh camera. We can see it from a number of locations. It's just this one big cloud out there. Otherwise, clear skies, 22 in Joplin. We've all been hanging out into the 20s so far this morning. We haven't had anybody fall back into the teens yet, but Fort Scott, for example, very close, sitting at 20 degrees this morning. As we go through the morning, taking a look, we got mid-20s to start, sunny skies, upper 30s by 11 o'clock this morning. And as we go into the afternoon, again, clear skies, temperatures even briefly, at least in the low 40s. Winds will be calm or light and variable. Into the evening hours, we're going to fall back to about 30 degrees. And see, this is what I'm saying. By 8, 10, when the wind starts shifting out of the south, it doesn't bring in considerably warmer air, but it slows down that temperature drop a little bit for us. Breezy, near 50 for our Saturday. Back into the 20s, a little cooler Sunday and Monday. And then take a look. We get into the first full week of December. I don't know what this business is, but it is not December weather. We go low 60s by Wednesday, some showers on Thursday. That cools us back a little bit, and then we're talking pushing near 70 degrees by next Sunday. That's Check Your Forecast. Back with more right after this.
2 years ago, federal regulators ordered Maine lobstermen to change the type of haul rope they use in order to protect endangered right whales. So what happened to all of that former pot rope?
Well, Joy Hollowell found an artist in Appleton using the retired lines to create ropes of art.
From far away, you may think it's tapestry or rug that makes up this artwork. But this is something you need to see to believe.
Yeah, usually I start with my blank panel.
Eric Darling uses discarded lobster fishing rope to create these collages of colliding color.
I call the project the Drift Rope Project because when I was collecting the rope, it was just washed up on the shore over in Cushing when I was living there.
Now living and working out of his studio in Appleton, Darling has collected quite a bit of rope in the last decade.
Little flares of color and the knots that join two different ropes together. I refuse to buy rope or use new rope because there's so much being buried in our landfill. So I'm trying to seek it out through lobstermen directly when they retire their rope, or I go to transfer stations before they bury it.
As for transforming these coils onto canvas, Darling says it starts with a sketch.
And I think of an image that might work with thick lines and not a lot of detail.
From perception to conception involves nailing the various rope pieces to a wooden board and then burning off the ends to create clean edges.
There's a lot of options with the rope, which is nice, and once you put a little bit of movement in the piece, it makes your eyes dance a little bit.
No surprise, most of Darling's pieces feature nautical images, but one of his favorites is not from the sea, but from the sky.
You can disarticulate it and turn it into small strands. You can use the knots and little features and the splices. So I like to find all these features that I'm not familiar with because I'm not part of the fishing industry.
Often, Darling says, these donated strands come with stories about its life at sea.
And I think about all the families it's supported, and so I feel like it pays homage to that working waterfront.
Certainly fascinating works of art.
Yeah, certainly, and a great way to kind of bring it to a new life of ways.
Yeah, give something else a new use. Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Exactly.
That's what he's doing. And you will probably want to reuse your coat today, especially if you've been using it here the last few days, because it's cold outside and it's going to be a chilly one. Let's take a look at the future track real quick. So today, light and variable wind. Skies will be on the clear side and will eventually, even briefly for some folks, make highs into the low 40s. Now later this evening, winds will start picking up out of the south, and that will slow down our temperature drop tonight. We won't notice the warmer air, but it will feel a little better. It won't be as cold as it is now by tomorrow morning. We'll be partly to mostly cloudy. Winds tonight gusting upwards of 20 to 25 miles an hour out of the south. Yeah, future track is showing snow, but I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's going a little overboard. I think this is more so going to be rain. We have a few isolated showers possible in our far northern counties, but not really expected to add up to anything at all. Winds continue to gust tomorrow out of the south and eventually will switch out of the north. They'll be gusting upwards of 30, and that will lead us with another cold night similar to what we're getting right now as we go Saturday into Sunday. Well, then look at your forecast and the news you need to know right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Pittsburgh police investigate a homicide Wednesday night. Officers found 29-year-old Fedor Lee Warren Lomax suffering from gunshot wounds. He was taken to Mercy Hospital where he later died. Officers tracked 26-year-old Kevin Hukill to a home where he was arrested on an outstanding warrant. He's now facing second-degree murder charges, felony interference with law enforcement, and a felon of possession of a firearm. Authorities respond to an overturned truck on Interstate 49 Wednesday morning in Lamar, Missouri. The crash involved an overturned cement mixer. Initially, both lanes were blocked as cement had to be washed from the road. Troopers say the female driver was alert and communicating.
And we've got ourselves a chilly day today. Most of the day will be spent in the 30s, but we will reach highs even briefly into the low 40s. Sunny skies and a light and variable breeze. As we go into the evening after 8, winds increase out of the south. Clouds begin to increase as well. We'll fall back to about 30 with south winds gusting to 20. As we head into our Saturday, couldn't remember what tomorrow is. As we head into our Saturday, 50, maybe a stray shower or two in our far northern counties in the morning. Then winds shift out of the north, gusting to 30. We get chilly again Sunday and Monday, and temperatures start warming up next week. We're looking at days where we could be well above average, maybe even close to 70 by next weekend.
Wow, that sounds great. Well, believers lit butter lamps at Tyre Monastery on Monday in northeast China's Qinghai province. as they celebrated Butter Lamp Festival, an annual festival commemorating Tsongkhapa, a master of Tibetan Buddhism.
Now, the festival, also known as Ganden Atsok, is celebrated on the 25th day of the 10th month, according to the Tibetan calendar, when Tsongkhapa, the founder of the Gelugpa, passed away in 1419. Certainly a very cool festival. It just looks amazing.
It's just so beautiful.
It certainly is. Well, thank you so much for letting us put the good into your morning. We have no news at noon today. We'll be back Monday.
Have a great rest of your morning.